Hey, what's up, you guys? And on this week's episode on the Everything Travel Nerd Show, we're going to be taking a real quick New York City apartment tour. It's real quick because it's a New York City apartment. And the second thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about strategy as a travel nurse. And you're probably thinking to yourself, I've never even heard of strategy as a travel nurse. How can you implement strategy? Stick around, that's all coming up next. Hello and welcome to the Everything Travel Nurse Show, a show dedicated to educate and entertain nurses who are inspired by travel nursing. I'm a world traveler and been on the road now for over 3 years. My name is Travel Nurse Gary. I believe that you can do this too, and I'm here to help you along your journey. What a real New York City apartment tour looks like in 97 seconds, because that's all I need to cover this. Alright, let's go for it. We've got the microwave, we've got the sink, we've got the coffee maker, and you can see that's where we've got some storage right there. That's where we keep all the glassware. Going into the bathroom, you see we've got the bare basic minimum. We've got the sink, toilet, shower. That's all it. That's it. Nothing else. Going over to the kitchen, once again, bare minimum. We've got a pretty crappy view of the building right there, and you can see we've got a small fridge, we've got oven, we've got some storage space and some counter space to work on. Going over into the living room, you see that's the couch. It's actually pretty comfortable. That's where I spend pretty much 90% of my time awake at. I'm always reading, I'm always on the laptop, I'm always doing something. That's actually a pretty nice area. I'm pretty happy with the overall layout right here. I've got a TV, never turned it on, never used it. You see we've got the table right there. I've used it a couple times and sat right there. It's not too bad. And you can see there's another view of the building right there. Got a spare bedroom as well. Nobody's ever came and visited me, so never used this room. I just used it to store stuff, and here I am. You can see me. There's my gimbal set up. And then just going on over into my room. This is actually a pretty nice room as well. It's a really comfortable bed. It's got lots of storage, and I'm pretty happy with this overall layout, and it worked out really well for me. So can't complain. Alright, so we're here in New York City, and where we're at actually is called the Upper East Side of Manhattan. We're in Carnegie Hill area, and what makes this location great is that we're right in between Central Park and Randall's Island. It's a really safe area, and it's one of the most expensive areas in all of New York. So when we stop and think about what is the strategy behind living here, the strategy is that 4 years ago when I first started traveling, I could never afford to live in this area of Manhattan. I mean, when you look at the wages of what it would have cost and then the actual cost of living here, I mean, it would cost about 120% of my paycheck to live in this area of Manhattan. But since the 4 years, we've seen a pandemic kind of change the entire layout of the housing and the pay scale of nursing. So we've seen a mass migration of people leaving New York recently in the last year, and we've had a huge pepped up demand for the need for nurses. So the supply of the housing market has gone up, the demand has gone down, an increase in demand for nurses, and then the overall supply has gone down, which has really pushed up wages to where they're almost double, triple of what they were 4 years ago, and the overall rent has gone down. So what this apartment would have cost me 4 years ago is about 120% of my paycheck. I mean, I just literally couldn't live here. And now it costs 22% of my overall paycheck to live here. So let's just stop and think about that. I literally couldn't even afford to live in New York. And then all of a sudden you see a change in the rates, you see a change in the housing, and now it's only 22% of your overall income just on housing. That's a huge shift. What I want you to do is to start and think about, where do you want to be over the next 4 years? Start looking up some of the cost of housing and start running your mind like it's a business. Like, this is a business, I need to be profitable. I can't go to New York and live on these wages. I can't go to these places because of the wages. But then also start looking at the rates in those different areas and start maybe thinking, well, if the rates do go up, then I can actually afford to go up. And this was a 4-year term where I finally was able to land a contract in New York. I mean, this was a long strategic event that took place here. And this was 4 years of work that finally like came together and landed this contract. Same thing with Louisiana earlier this year. I really wanted to go to Louisiana. I think that my recruiter even told me in the past, I was like, I want to go to Louisiana. She's like, no, you can't do that. You won't make money and I just won't send you there. Okay then. So stop and think about, like, when the rates go up, when can you go in and finally hit some of these contracts in places that you just really want to go travel and live? That it's using strategy and incorporating it into travel nursing. And with that, let's stop and take a look at this week's Closer Look. Now this is the part of the show where we're going to take a closer look. Every week's going to be a little bit different what we look at, depending on where my mind decides to take us. But there's different aspects of travel nursing that we just don't always think about that really do deserve a closer look. Hey, what's up you guys? So it's 5:30 in the morning, and on this week's Closer Look, what I want to do is take you on a run with me through Central Park. Why? Because I can. It's always been one of my life goals to be able to live through next to Central Park and just be able to go travel through it just because I can. So this is like using travel nursing to accomplish long-term goals and just being able to afford it, but then at the same time making enough money to invest as well. So, and we're doing all that while living next to Central Park, living in the Upper East Side of New York City. I mean, what can't you do as a travel nurse? Let's go. So the last part of this video, I want to talk about how I planned out my entire year. And I planned out my entire year in 2021 based off the weather. I don't want to be in Phoenix in July, and I don't want to be that hot. I don't want to be that cold where I'm in New York, where I'm here in January. Like, I don't want to be that cold. So I planned out the entire year based off the weather. Spent January, February in Stockton, California. It was pretty decently warm there. Pretty moderate climate. March, April, May was in New Orleans. It was beautiful. So I loved being in spring in New Orleans. It was such a great time to be there. Loved it. And then over the summer, I was on the Great Lakes. Went up north into northern New York and Buffalo. Buffalo, don't be knocking on Buffalo. Buffalo was actually a really beautiful place. The sunsets on Lake Erie were absolutely magical. The food was really good too. I had a great time in Buffalo and I really enjoyed it there. And then my last contract of the year was late summer, fall into winter in New York, in Manhattan. And like living right next to Central Park, you get to see like the green, and then it goes into fall, and then it goes into winter. It's an absolutely awesome time to be here in New York, and I absolutely loved it. One more thing is that when we look at January, it's like, do you want to extend? Do you want to stay here? No, I don't. I'm out. Peace. Okay? I signed my contract this week to go to Phoenix, Arizona. And once again, we're in Phoenix in January, not July. Really important. Those are using strategic thought patterns into travel nursing. That's just how I did it, though. Maybe you have a completely different way. Use what you want to do and travel to the places where you want to and where you want to be the time of year. If you want to be Denver, Colorado for ski season, maybe that's your thing. Start thinking about that and implement that into your overall year where you want to be. What I want to convey to you is that I thought about where I wanted to go and I planned it out based off weather. What is it that you want? What do you want to do? Travel nursing lets you do those things and lets you plan your year out. Stop and think about it and put some time and effort into where you want to be in maybe 2022 or in the future. Stop and put those critical thinking skills to good use. That's all we've got for this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Out.